Hi everybody, this is Alex back for another tutorial at a.plus.net. Today we're going to dive into the fun world of 3D projections right in After Effects. Okay, so let's get started right in After Effects. At first we need to get a proper 3D track for our shot. So for that I'm just going to load my shot into After Effects, and in my comp I then just go and apply. I'm going to apply the camera tracker plugin to that, and then we just go and hit our preview features button so that we can see where our features are going to be placed. I just raised that up to 250 to get a little bit more of tracking markers in my scene. As you can see, we got some fairly simple walls that don't have any tracking data within, so I'll just go and stick with a little bit more of those markers. Okay, so after that I'll just go and make sure that we track the whole clip. We're going to display our tracks, but I just don't want to have the viewer updated by our tracking progress, so I just hit that off. And the advantage of hitting that off is that we don't have to switch off our autosave. After Effects camera tracker will not be disrupted by any After Effects events, so that's quite handy and gives you the same result in the end. Okay, so we got everything lined up. In our tracking panel you can see that we chose the free camera, so we just hit track, and then I'll come back once the tracking is finished. Okay, so now we are back with the tracked scene. As you now can see, we got a lot of tracking markers right at the regions where we got some details, which is quite good. You can see here in the picture, and the painting, and in the foreground at our sofa, so that's quite good. Next step which we're going to do is solving the camera, so I just hit solve. That just take a little minute, and after the solving we just got the information that our RMS projection error is at 1.68 pixels. This value, just to bring that back to your mind, this error is saying on how much the 2D track points might slide from the 3D projected position in space. So 1.68 pixels is quite heavy for that. I just want to hit the 1 pixel mark at least. So with that we just go into our refine tab, and we mark our clip hitting U, and then you can see we got a lot of info values in our camera tracker plugin saved. So with this I just go into the per frame error right here and mark this to be shown in our graph editor, and I can see that we got some pretty high error values from around 16 down to 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm just lowering that value by sliding this off in the threshold, and now you can see that this red line is marked in, which is our threshold line. Everything above that line is going to be cropped off from our result so that we refine it a little more. So I'm just going to drop that down to maybe 8. And now you can see that some of our trackers just got red instead of being green as well. So those are going to be no longer in our solution. So I just hit delete rejected and delete unsolved. Now you can see that those trackers disappeared from our scene. Okay, so after that we just hit solve again, and let's see what the projection error is up to now. Okay, so as you can see we got down from 1.6 to, or almost 1.7 to 1.3. That's quite good, but we're not already there, so let's just go and pump that down to 5. delete the rejected and the unsolved, and then let's hit solve again. Okay, so after that we just got down to 1.01 pixels. That's quite good for this tutorial. Okay, so with that in mind, we just go and come to our last step in the camera tracker. So I just go and create my scene. And after a little progress, you can see that we now got our camera right in here with the master null that we got created to parent all of our objects in the camera tracker if you want, so that you could scale the whole scene up and down as you want that, or as you need that, if you got some 3D things coming from cinema or you need to rescale for whatever reason. Okay, so if I'm just now go to a custom view and say in the camera hit tab or command click and say toggle to 3D view. Let's just go and get this plaque outside. You now can see that we got a quite good 3D recreation of our scene. As you can see, we got our walls right here and here, and we got some floor markers and some foreground things in there, so I think we are quite good to go. So let's move on with that. Okay, so as a last step, we are going to set our crown plane. So I'm just scrolling through my clip to see if I can find a few handy markers on the crown plane. So I'm just by shift clicking those 4 points, I just marked them, and with your camera tracker plugin active, you can now command click in the viewer and say crown plane set to selected. And what that did now was we now just got the crown plane aligned properly. If I just go into the 3D view now, you can see that we are now looking up with our camera, and that's looking pretty good to me. So we are good to go. With that, we are technically aligned. So let's move on with that. Back in our active camera, we're now going to create our projector for the clean plate. Okay, so the first thing we are going to start out with is creating a clean plate. As you might have seen in the intro video and the final shot, we're going to patch up those electronic pieces on the wall, as we're not going to, we don't want these pretty ugly things in our shot. So we are going to project our clean plate right onto this piece of geometry, so that we don't have to clean up each and every of those 150 frames. We just need to patch that up once and load that from Photoshop in the After Effects comp, and from there we are going to project that onto some proxy geometry to get this moving. Okay, so for that I'll just go into the last frame of my shot, as we have the easiest angle for our projection painting in there, as we are almost looking flat onto that, so we got the most pixels in the depth in here. So we are going to go with that. For that I'm just going to solo that out for safety reason, save frame as file, and from there we just go and save that out. Just hit render, and once we got that done, I just go and load that right into Photoshop. Alright, so once in Photoshop, I'm just going to duplicate this layer so that I got the background backup layer back down here, and I'm just going to roughly clone this bits and pieces out. I'm not being that accurate right here, as you might be in a production environment. So as you can see here, we just got a little bit of patching errors not matching the values. Okay, so that looks quite decent to follow up the technique, so I'll just go and stick with that. Just hit save, get the PSD saved in our folder, quit Photoshop, and right in After Effects we are just about to load in this Photoshop file as a footage. Okay, so now you can see we got that right in After Effects. So the next step we're going to work on is the projector. So for that we just need three simple things. We need our proxy geometry, we need our projecting camera, and we need a light that is being our light bulb in the projector, sorry, that is going to cast some light. You could imagine like in a cinema you got this projector, and there's in the projector is a light bulb which is producing a recently amount of a huge amount of light, and this light is being projected through our film stock and is hitting the screen somewhere some meters far away. So the technique is quite the same, so we are going to start off with that. I don't need this master tracker, so I'm just going to delete that, as we don't want to rescale that for now. So first I'm just going to duplicate my camera and say this is my projector camera, just rename that projection cam. Okay, so for your projection camera settings you have to make sure that you miss just the one important fact. Your camera tracker camera is a 2-node camera, so this means that you got position and you got an anchor point of your camera. But we don't want that for our projector, so just make sure that we get a projection cam that is a 1-node. You can even just change that in here and it's immediately changed to 1-node camera, which is only holding the position and the rotation, but not the anchor point. Right after that, we are going to create a new layer or new light, which is a spot. The intensity is up to 100%. Our cone angle is 180%. We don't have any feathering, but we cast shadows as we are projecting through our clean plate. So that's all fine. We got the pure white. Hit OK. And just stack that right on our projection cam. The last thing we're going to add is the clean plate that we just created. And for now, I'm just leaving my active camera and go into custom view. Okay. Alright, so next we need to prepare our projection camera. So hitting Command Shift Y on the Mac, we are going to make this 1-node camera. That's okay. And after that, we are just going to delete all of our keyframes, as well as we are about to reset our camera. Okay, so now you can see it just jumped out of the original position into the resetted one. Okay, so right after that, we are going to copy the position right to the light. As the orientation got resetted, we just have that at 0, 0, 0. And after that, we got our clean plate in and get this to a 3D layer. So as I'm just now going to slide around and activate my camera as well, you can see that it's now just lining up to the field of view of the camera. So that's pretty cool. We just want to do some little tricks on that. So for that, I just want this I just want this plate to be always fitting up our field of view. So as you can see in here, if we now just would go and position that or reposition that in Z value, our plate, I wanted that to follow up the scaling of the field of view so that it's always filling up those imaginary lines in here. So for that, we are going to add a little expression. Okay, so before we start off with the scripting of the field of view, I just want to make sure that we got our light and the projection plane parented to our projection cam. So wherever this camera is moving, our light and the plate are going to follow up. Okay, so after that, we just go into our scale by alt clicking on the stopwatch for the scaling. And then we just go and apply our expression. X is 100 divided by the zoom value. This is over here. And then it's multiplied by the Z position of our camera, or the backplate, sorry. And then we just make sure that we got the semicolon at the end of the line to mark that. And then we just go and reapply this value X to all of our scale percentage values in here. So that's the whole trick. So once we left that, you now can see that once I marked both the projection camera and the backplate, sorry. If we now just go and move our backplate and scale that down, you now can see that it's scaling proportionally and matching up our field of view no matter if we are far back right this. Although our lines are ending, you can see that it's proportionally scaled. And if we just now go and put that back in space, you now can see that it's lining up. Okay, so I'm just bringing everything back up on top. Okay, so now we're bringing back our track camera into the game. As you remember, we just copied or we patched the last frame, so I'm just going to get my position values and rotation values from the first frame and just copy that back onto our projection camera. And now you can see our scene camera is moving and it's meeting the exact same spot as our projecting camera right at the last frame. Okay, so we got our projection set up. It's now right in place and we got that working properly. So it's about time to get our proxy geometry that we are going to project onto back in the scene and get that working. Okay, so I just marked our projection setup yellow and we are going to hide that for a moment as we're now about to create our proxy geometry. So with that in mind, I just go back into my camera tracker plugin. Get my markers back, and now we are just about to mark all of the markers that are in the same spot as we wanted our clean plate to sit onto. And with the command click in the viewer, we are just go and create a solid. You can do that by hitting S on your keyboard as a shortcut as well. And now we got a plane right in here. As you can see, if we are scrubbing through, it's lining up pretty much. The rotation is a little bit off, so we are about to fix that. Just go into the rotation, hitting the V on our keyboard. Whoop, that's the wrong one. Yep, so that looks pretty good to me. Lining up the edge quite good. But as you can see, this card is just not big enough, so we are about to double that in the width, as well as we are going to raise that to better line up. Okay, now you can see that it's not exactly lining up with our perspective right in here at the bottom border of that, so I'm just going to turn that a little bit around, get the Z's rotation set up properly as well. Maybe a little more. Yeah, something like that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more on the Y, and correct that a little bit more. What? Sorry. Okay, so that should be sticking quite good right now. Yeah, we are fine with that. So this was just a layer that we used to get the position right in space. So for that, I just go and duplicate that by Command D and say proxy geometry to the new created. We go into the options by Command Shift Y and we make this 100% white. Okay, and after that we just pump up the proxy geometry to opacity to 100%, as we don't want any half opaque or something like that layer. Okay, so our geometry is there, right to be projected onto. Alright, so I just make this invisible, so as we don't need that anymore. That was just for setting up the scene reasons. Okay, so next step we need to do is go and change the material settings right into our proxy geometry. So for that I double hit A and then the material options pop up. Okay, so with our proxy geometry, we don't want that to cast any shadows. We don't want to emit light through once it's transmitting. We don't want to be lights accepted. The only thing we want to be accepted are the shadows that are coming through the projected clean plate. Okay, so as we adjusted that, we need to adjust the material settings in our clean plate as well. And for that, we just make sure that we got the cast shadows on, as well as the light transmission set to up to 100%, so that each portion of the light is coming through this and gets transmitted onto our proxy geometry. Okay, so it's about time to unhide our projection setup as well, and as you can see right now, it's already properly projected onto. The only thing that is in a little bit off is the projected plant that we get on the side as well. So for that, I just go and drag a little mask right onto our proxy geometry. Switch my mask off, and now you can see that it's gone. The only thing that is left is now a little bit of a border that we got there, so double hit M to get the mask set up, feather that out and get that a little bit feathered in. So I guess 12 looks good to me, and let's just scrub through the scene and we are almost good to move on. Okay, so as you can see here on the last frames, lighting is almost perfect. We don't get any etching, etc. So for that, I just go and add a little bit of level effect on our backplate, and I'll just go and say stopwatch on our histogram. And right here at the beginning, you can see that the lighting conditions just changed a little bit. So we want to get rid of that. So I'm just going to slightly adjust that so that you can see these borders are no longer visible. Okay, so that looks pretty good. We got that matched up properly. And if we now just scrub through the scene, you can see that we got a little bit of etching, so adjust for that. Looking good, maybe a little bit at the top. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I think we wrapped the projection part up quite good. As you can see now, we just get this comp to 150%, 150 frames, sorry. So for that, just go into the comp, say 150, okay. And that looks pretty good to me. So without setting a lot of keyframes, we just got that projected onto. You could, for example, use this as well to clean up this side wall over here so that you don't get that painting. Maybe replace it after that with another one. I just used that on a shot where I needed to clean up a cubic room. We got tracking markers and heavy movements on there, so I used that with a bunch of stacked projections to match that up and don't have to clean up all those keyframes by hand. Okay, so that's basically it with the wrap up of the projection part. In here, as you can see in the final shot, I just placed this logo at the wall and got this plant back on top. So for that, we just go and grab our logo. Oh, I just got pre-comp for that. Grab the logo, say you are 3D layer, and then we just go and copy the position of our proxy geometry onto that. Okay, and now you can see it's almost lining up. So I'll just go and scale that down just a little bit more to 15. And now you can see that this is just lining up properly right where it should sit in space. So that looks pretty good. Okay, so you might have wondered why this logo is tinted the way it is. That's just a little bit of a 2D and 3D space mess up. So to solve that, it's as easy as we are just about to create a adjustment layer, and we just drop that down under our logo, and boom, got your logo back. All of this stuff beyond the adjustment layer is now calculated, and we now got those separated, and we don't get affected by our projection setup in here, so that you now got your logo the way you want that to be. Okay, so last step we are going to do is duplicating our backplate and just drag that on top, as we don't as we want that to be cleaned up for now. So I'm just dragging the camera tracker off a bit, and now we just go and say keying, key light, and let's just get rid of this red. Okay, in the combined mask, we just need to get maybe a screen blur of 1 pixel to get that a little bit smoother. And then we just go and wrap that plaque off. So that looks pretty good, as we don't need too much of that. We just mask that out to match the part we are going to need. Okay, back into the intermediate result, and now you can see that this is back on top. Okay, so I think we wrapped that projection thingy up quite good. As you can see, it's pretty handy when it comes to clean up shots with some straight geometry in it, but for some walls or something like that, dealing with tracking markers and cleaning them up It's the technique I use all the time to save a lot of time during production phase. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If there are any questions coming out, just leave a comment or something like that. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.